Shalom, welcome to Out of Africa Torah Session. My name is Tatra Cohen, and this week, as we begin a new book in Shabbat Chazon, which is Parashat Devarim, also coming from the book of Devarim, from chapter 1 to chapter 3. I should mention, forgive my voice today, because I'm coming from a very serious illness. It's a miracle that I'm actually able to speak today, Baruch Hashem. Well, as we look at this Torah portion, Devarim, words in English, it is a very interesting Torah portion considering the fact that scholars actually say that Moshe seemed to be changing the narrative. He seemed to be bringing another gospel. He seemed to be, some even say, telling white lies. He's not really, but was he lying? Was he bringing another gospel? Absolutely not. He seemed to give an account of what transpired in these 40 years of the wilderness. Well, we see clearly, geographically speaking, that even historically, when they started off from Mitzrayim, they were supposed to take a very short period, probably less than a year, into the promised land. But because of their stiffness of their hearts, because of how difficult they were to deal with, until at one point Hashem said, you know what? None of you ate my manna. None of you saw the signs and wonders which I did shall be able to enter the promised land. He indeed swore, and indeed that generation failed to enter the promised land. Well, on this Torah portion, and we look at the book of Deuteronomy, we see the miracles Moshe brings to light here. Imagine you are in the wilderness for such a long time. Your clothes are not wearing, your shoes are not outgrowing you. The manna, everything was just a miracle. Imagine having to drink water from the rock, and that rock continuously follow them in every journey. Wow, this was something great. But Moshe here begins to have a problem with this group of people. And he tells them off. He says, it was your fault. And that fault is exactly what I want to talk to you today. We see that he repeatedly blamed them, condemned them, and tell them that it is their fault that they failed to enter the promised land to that time after 40 years when Moshe was now addressing them. So what was their crime? Their crime is they did not have faith. Well, faith, when we look at it, or when we consider faith in the modern age, or amongst ourselves today, we kind of put faith out of context. But considering what Moshe was saying here, another illustration of faith given in the Torah is that moment when they had to fight, and Moshe's hands had to be kept upheld by Aaron and Hur. And why were they holding Moshe's hands up by the time the fight was being conducted? We see from there a clear illustration of what faith is according to the Torah. According to the Torah, faith is the same as emunah, or emunah, which is steadfastness. This is one of the characteristics of Hashem himself. He is steadfast. In other words, he is not wavering. When he says what he does exactly what he says. And that steadfastness is what is seen as faith. I like what one of the sages tell us. He says, in this Torah portion, again, Devarim, we begin to see the three attributes of what makes faith, or what makes it trust, which is, in other words, demonstrated in this Torah portion as emunah. We see the first attribute is power. No wonder Moshe continued to tell them that after you have seen the power of Hashem, after Hashem has done everything he was supposed to do, you were supposed to trust in his power at least. And they did not do that. Another thing which we see there is faithfulness. Hashem had done everything to show, even by the time when Moses and Aaron went into Mitzrayim, their message was very simple. God was simply saying, I am faithful to keep my promise, not to you, but to your forefathers. No wonder I've sent Moses and Aaron to bring you out of the captivity. But for them, they were not faithful on their part. They say the other thing, and they did the other thing. And lastly, the rabbis and the sages, they tell us that understanding. They were supposed to grow in understanding between the children of Israel and the God of Israel. They were supposed to reach a point where they were now able to understand God. Why would I say this? This is more than the faithfulness that comes in empathy. You know, empathy is like, I understand what you are going through. But in this last part, they were supposed to understand that God knows what He's doing. And they were supposed to have faith in what God was doing. And these three things combined, empathy, understanding, and power, are supposed to give us what is known as emunah, the steadfastness of believing in God. It's more than believing in words. By the way, demons believe more than we do. That's why they tremble at the calling of the name of Yeshua. But for them, this was more like a relationship, like a marriage, the intimacy, which comes only by steadfastness. When you know He will do what He said He will do, that is the level of steadfastness. You know, I learned this steadfastness from the elder Mfanebadza, who died recently of blessed memory. At one time we were going to have, some years back, we were supposed to have Passover. Now we didn't pay for the sheep which was supposed to be used, but we promised him that we are going to bring the money and we will pay. So we arrived late in the night, and we just thought maybe since it's late, we will pay the person tomorrow. He said, if you do not want to go, I will go. I will start off this night. And we knew it was difficult for him to drive that late. But he said, I'm going to start off and drive and give this man his money, simply because we had given him our word that we were going to pay today. So for us, we took it casually and say, well, we can pay even tomorrow since it's late. But for him, it was serious, because it was steadfastness. He was supposed to be paid that same day because we gave him our word that we were going to pay that very day. And this is the discussion that is happening on Parashat Devarim. Moshe is taking the children of Israel like a judge to say, I am holding you accountable because you didn't do your part. You didn't do what you said you do. You didn't keep your end of the bargain. But instead, Hashem kept his. And this 40 years of wandering in the wilderness is actually your responsibility. If you deal with it, your failure to believe in his power, your failure to understand that Hashem has got empathy. He feels what we go through. We are told in the text that when the children of Israel are persecuted, he too is persecuted with them. Why? It is the matter of empathy. And finally, they failed to understand that Hashem understood what was happening to them, and therefore he cares. Not only does he care, he is steadfast. These three things are the reason why the children of Israel failed to enter the promised land at a designated time. They were supposed to believe not in the giants they saw, not in anything they can think of, not in the might of Canaan. They were supposed to believe in the one who is moving with them, the one whom they are intimate with, the one they are in a relationship with. And this is the God of Israel. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you all. Lehitraot.